Today we are going to discuss McLaughlin's automaticity and restructuring theory. He argues that second language acquisition process lacking an adequate theory of mind that allows to decide that particular mental states or operations are conscious or unconscious. So he believes that we do not have an adequate theory which enables us to decide that certain or particular mental states or processes are either conscious or unconscious, due to which one cannot falsify claims regarding consciousness in second language. So one cannot simply discard the idea of consciousness in second language learning because there is no specific theory to refute it. He proposed distinction between controlled and automatic processing instead of conscious and unconscious dichotomy. He feels that in terms of dividing these two, conscious and unconscious, he proposed the idea of controlled and automatic processing. Looking at the controlled processing, this process does require attention, and attention has limited capacity. And automatic processing does not require attention and takes up little or no processing ability. So automatic, as opposing to controlled processing, has a flow. It is quite an easy way of processing, whereas the controlled is guided processing. Now, give you an example of automatic processing. Speaker 1, hi. Speaker 2, hi, how are you? Speaker 1, fine, and you? Speaker 2, fine. So these utterances are expressed or are seen in the way of automatic processing, that there's a flow. These utterances do not require controlled processing. Due to limited capacity, a person has the automatic routines that creates more space for new information. Now, more automatic processing is there in any individual learning capacity. It creates more space for information because information that becomes automatic requires less space, and the human mind has a very limited capacity. McLaughlin uses the twin concept of automaticity and restructuring to describe the cognitive processes involved in SLA. So the concept of automatic processing, and then based on that, another concept which is restructuring. He believes that automaticity occurs when an associative connection between a certain kind of input and some output pattern occurs. So there is connectivity. There is association of connections between the input and the output, and that enables the automaticity. It also believes that the more information that can be handled routinely through automatic processing, the more attentional resources are freed up for new information. So more space is reserved or is allocated for new information to be acquired and absorbed, because information that becomes automatic becomes routine. And in routine process, you do not require guided or controlled processing. McLaughlin argues that automatic processing is a rapid process, and once it occurs, it's very difficult to alter or make changes in it or suppress it because it becomes a routine matter. Controlled processes, however, are thus tightly capacity limited and require more time for their activation because certain guidelines are to be given. It has to be performed in a guided parameters. Therefore, it requires more time and for the activation. But control processes have the advantage of being relatively easy to set up because proper guidance is provided. Therefore, it is easily set up and can be changed and applied to novel situations because it requires certain guidelines and parameters, and once they are provided, then it becomes easy for processing and for any practical usage of learning and language in a given situation. Three information processes you can see: automatic processing, controlled processing, and restructuring. Processing information with great speed is called automatic. Now, if looking at this figure, Restructuring is displayed in the arrow pointing from short-term to long-term store. So restructuring happens from here, from short-term to long-term. Information processing says that learning is dynamic. So knowledge that is learned can be changed and altered when acquiring new information. Now this is called restructuring, when the current knowledge can be changed or modification can be done. It allows students to increase in language learning and attain higher level of proficiency. Looking at this model, this is multi-store model memory by Esnick and Kane. You have the sensory stores. From here, you pay attention and the information goes to short-term store. Rehearsal takes place here and goes to long-term store. Here, the interference can be seen. From here, the information is retrieved. Based on intention, you focus on the sensory stores. Now, there is general agreement that prolonged practice is of fundamental importance to the development of automaticity. So basically, a prolonged practice which is performed can lead to the automaticity because it becomes routine. A routine is there. The very basis of having a routine comes from doing practice. But it is much less clear how practice produces automaticity. So practice is although there to form basis, but how practice can result into automaticity, it is yet to be seen. What happens is that practice leads to an increase in the knowledge base, and this in turn permits rapid retrieval of relevant information and fast action. So information keeps on being retrieved and the process becomes fast based on that retrieval of the information processes. Addressing what actually occurs in our mind when acquisition takes place, he refers to the idea that learning a second language does involve the acquisition of your cognition or cognitive processes, but at the same time, it does involve the acquisition of complex linguistic skills. So linguistic skills are also processed in when we are acquiring the second language acquisition. You have this practical applications of McLaughlin's attention processing model, where you see that how controlled processes take place and how automatic processes take place. And then you have the attention to formal properties of language, focal, intentional attention, and peripheral incidental attention. So based on that, these are the properties which are controlled, and new skill capacity is limited. So therefore, these are conducted in a controlled manner. And looking at the automatic, it's well-trained practice skills capacity is relatively unlimited. So cell A, B, C, D completely form the practical application of the attention processes model. To conclude, McLaughlin proposed the concept of controlled and automatic processing as substitutes to conscious and unconscious dichotomy, and restructuring as a process of altering and modifying the acquired knowledge.